Hi art teachers, I'm Lauren, Inside Out art teacher. I am going to today share with you a lesson that I do with my students, a perspective lesson. I used to hate teaching perspective to beginners. I find it can get so confusing and you can lose them so fast, and it's always been a challenge for me to infuse creativity and get them to, get some good results that they're really proud of, and not feel totally lost and confused. So this project was awesome last year, and I think I might actually have learned to like perspective because of this lesson. They do simple 1-point perspective houses, but last year I did it around the holidays, and I let them infuse like a winter theme or holiday theme, or get like really creative with their decorations. So they were really able to put their personalities into it, and they really enjoyed it. It wasn't like torture for me, it wasn't torture for them. So I thought I would share it with you. I know every time I teach something, I usually get it right, or it just comes more naturally and easier on like the 3rd or 4th time that I do it. So by the end of the day, after teaching the same thing over and over again, I figure out, what I should do differently. So that's why I make these videos, to kind of share with you the things that I learned along the way, that maybe so that maybe you can avoid them and get it right on the first try, and maybe not the 2nd or 3rd. So if you like this video and you want to see more art lesson ideas and how I approach them, logistics of the project, just hit like and subscribe, and I will continue making them. So let's get to it. So before we get started on the good paper, we practiced really small first. I started with these worksheets where the boxes were already drawn for them. So at first, they just had to learn how to take the corners to the vanishing point. We learned about the horizon line, and how to add the parallel lines. So once the corners went to the vanishing point, we worked on this together, and I showed them how to add the parallel lines. After they completed this exercise, then they went on to the next box, and now this time they had to draw their own box and then take the corners to the vanishing point and add the back edge, which runs parallel to the front or side of the box. I think definitely working small was super beneficial. I definitely recommend introducing just one thing at a time. I used to give the kids big sheets of paper and have them work with their rulers, and I found it was just very, very confusing. I think keeping it smaller made it a lot more manageable for them in their own minds. So after they practiced this, then I gave them this handout where the front of the house was already there for them, and then they just had to draw the sides. So here, in addition to the vertical and horizontal lines of the box, now they had to follow the edges of the roof line or anything that was a diagonal line. So here they just learned that the back edge is always parallel, and they kind of got to practice. So that was one more thing kind of scaffolded on top of the box. So once they finished these, then they had another worksheet, again, a nice smaller space to draw in so it wasn't too overwhelming. And I like working small in the beginning when they're working out their ideas on like worksheet or computer paper. It just feels, I think, a lot less intimidating in the very beginning than a large piece of paper. I feel like they're a lot freer and aren't afraid to make mistakes and erase. So this worked out really, really well. So I also gave them some reference images to look at, some sample house styles to just to inspire them to get some ideas, so that they didn't just go with like a plain old like boxy kind of house. So here they practiced that on their worksheet, and a lot of them, you know, ran and like had questions, and I was able to walk around and kind of troubleshoot before they went on to the good paper. So after they practiced, after they got their house, then I gave them some examples of just inspiration sheets for holiday decorations or candy in case they wanted to make a gingerbread house, or if they wanted to add any kind of like winter themed stuff. They could make lights out of candy or add snowmen. And I liked that these images were very whimsical and kind of illustrative. They didn't try to draw realistically before they were ready and then kind of like be a little disappointed in themselves. So these images were all like really super simple, so they weren't too like far-fetched. They weren't scary to work from. Okay, so once they finished that, we worked out all of our ideas on the small sheet of paper. We did this for, I would say, about 2 days. So the first day, you know, we introduced perspective. I walked around, answered any questions, and did the first 2 worksheets. Some of them may have gotten started on the third one. And then this one we spent almost a whole, I would say, 40-minute period on. They added all their details. Some of them got really, really detailed with that.
So after everyone practiced on the small sheet, we moved on to the good paper. A lot of the kids wanted to draw peaked roofs on the side of the house going back into perspective. So I found myself reviewing how to find the center of that side going back into perspective and how to draw that peak. And I just kind of walked around and answered like a lot of questions, but I think that was the one thing that tripped students up the most, was finding the center of that peaked roof on the side and how to draw, like if they wanted to do something kind of overlapping like this. And then I just had to remind them a bunch of times about if they wanted to do windows or doors on the front or sides of their house. How to do that, and how to do the driveway in the front going back to the vanishing point, and if there was a driveway on the side, it would just simply be horizontal. So then they just kind of got started, and I was just really cognizant of watching and making sure anything they drew on the side of their house going back into perspective, that the tops and the bottoms go to the vanishing point, and that anything on the front of their houses was lining up horizontally with the horizon line and vertically with the edge of the house. And then everybody just kind of went to town and started adding details, and I really pushed them to not try to be super realistic and get a lot of variety in the thickness of their lines when they got to the fine liners. So I pushed them to get some thicker lines and some thinner lines, and to really kind of just take their time. And really that was it. We got some really good results, and it was a super fun project.